The vision for Ittec 2025 was born out of a conviction that something had to change. Not just on how we train, but how we ensure training brings the result, expected result, every organization that went into training, the reason why they went into training. And so Ittec 2025 is not just a conference, it is a movement. It is a movement of putting training transfer effectiveness on the map. And we are starting with Africa, putting training transfer effectiveness on the map of Africa, whereby training is not just seen as an event again. Training is seen as a strategic business too. Ittec 2025 was born out of a conviction that something had to change. Not just in how we train, but how to ensure that training actually delivers its result. And so, Ittec 2025 is not just a conference. It is a movement. It is a movement to put training transfer effectiveness on the map, starting with Africa. It's about ensuring that training is no more an event, but training is seen as a strategic business tool. Well, I'm so passionate about training transfer effectiveness. And why now? Because enough is enough. The time is right now. I've seen the pain the HR and L&D professionals face. I've also seen the pain of leadership. Organizations are tired of spending so much millions and billions of naira and dollars on training. The HR and L&D team are frustrated because why? They are unable to show return on investment or return on expectation for all the training. Line managers are frustrated that they are not seeing behavior change. What about the employees? The employees feel that the training sessions are just a tick in the box. Now is the time because we have reached a tipping point. The economy has become tighter. Budgets are being questioned. If we do not show value for training now, there will come a time, and the time is coming, where training will be dispensed. And what a massive loss that will be to organizations and to the economy at large. Training transfer effectiveness is the solution. Funny enough, it is not new. It's just that it has not been prioritized. And I'm glad to say, as an organization, M-Brand Consulting Limited, and as an individual, Sandra Nacho, aka the Oracle, the Training Transfer Effectiveness Advocate, we are proud to go on this mission to effect this change, not just in Nigeria, in Africa, and beyond. There are so many conferences out there. What makes Ittec 2025 different? You can see I'm smiling because Ittec 2025, it's not just like any other conference. Ittec 2025 is the first of its kind, is a premier conference. There's no conference out there, not in Nigeria, not in Africa, not globally, that is talking about training transfer effectiveness. So Ittec is talking mainly about training transfer effectiveness. We're going to talk about what happens before training, pre-training, what happens during training, what happens post-training. And so for every leader, HR professional, L&D professional, line managers, COO, CEOs that are interested in productivity, that are interested in performance, that are interested in return on investment, that are interested in return on expectation, Ittec 2025 is where you should be. Ittec 2025 is for everyone. Yes, it's for the CEOs, the HR and L&D professionals, the policymakers, the COOs, the line managers, even the employees themselves. And what should you be expecting when you come for Ittec 2025? When you come for Ittec 2025, it's not just like every other conference you may have attended. You're coming for a conference that is going to be hands-on, a conference that is action-backed, a conference that will be led by experts in the training industry, a conference that will be filled with strategies and models to take along with you. In Ittec 2025, you should expect real conversations, hands-on tools, research-backed insights, global experts, and a community of people who are tired of seeing training reduced to merely PowerPoint slides and motivational quotes. We are moving the needle. We are changing and transforming how training is designed, delivered, and most importantly, transferred. Well, training scrap, what does training scrap mean? Training scrap was a term coined by me. First of all, where did it start from? It came from scrap learning, which was coined by Ken Phillips, and learning scrap, which was coined by Roy Pollock. And so what does training scrap mean? Training scrap is a portion of training that is delivered but never applied on the job. Employees go for training, they have fun, satisfaction, post-test, post-evaluation of the training, they give high rating, and yet they go back to the organization and everything remains the same. That's what really training scrap is. It's not about semantics. I know some persons may say, we have scrap learning, you have learning scrap, why training scrap? No, it's not about semantics. This is about being strategic. I'm all about training. Remember that training is a portion of learning. And I'm all about training, advocating for training transfer effectiveness. So training scrap is that portion of training that employees, when they get back to organizations, they do not apply on their job. This has cost organizations millions. It's still costing organizations, and it will continue to cost organizations until organizations sit up and agree to take a stand on training scrap and say what? No to training scrap. The cost of poor training transfer effectiveness for organizations, both financially and operationally, is massive. And do you know what? A lot of business leaders don't even realize this. When training doesn't transfer into performance, you lose money, yes. You don't just lose money, you lose trust in the process. Managers are tired of sending employees on training. HR and L&D feels that they are invisible and their work is invisible. Employees feel that it's a tick in the box. They don't see it as a growth process anymore. But beyond perception, the real cost is performance. If your people aren't applying what they are learning, how do you want your business to grow? Training should support strategy, not just filling calendars. What I've personally experienced and observed that pushed me to take action. I've delivered trainings that were well received, glowing reports, 5 over 5, 10 over 10. And a few months down the line, when I inquired what had changed, to my dismay, nothing had changed. This bothered me deeply, and it was a wake-up call for me. So it's not about what happened during the session. It's about what happened before the session, during the session, and after the session. That was when I knew that delivering training was not enough. And I knew that I needed to make organizations understand that before training, very important, during training, very key, after training, very, very important. At Brand Consulting Limited, we committed ourselves to a 5-year mandate, starting with this year 2025, up till 2030. In 2025, as an organization, we took the bold initiative to work with organizations to be able to gain clarity, adopt and apply training transfer effectiveness in all their training initiatives. Why? Because for too long, organizations were okay with the status quo. They spend millions of naira dollars in training their employees and nothing happens. The behavior change do not happen. And the cycle continues year in, year out. We've decided as an organization, as a business, to stop that cycle. The cycle stops now. We are on a mission as a business and as an organization to work with organizations and move them from activity-based training to results-based training, wherein application is very key. And at the end of each training initiative, they are able to see return on investment and return on expectations for all their training initiatives. Brand Consulting Limited decided and chose to lead training transfer effectiveness movement in Africa because it is personal and it is urgent. I've worked with micro businesses, small, medium and large businesses in Africa and beyond Africa. After the training, praises are given, commendations are given, no real change happens. Africa is rising. Our people are brilliant. Our businesses are growing. But if we don't close the gap between training and transfer, we will keep losing momentum where it matters most, which is implementation. We knew someone had to step up, and so we did. We are taking the lead, not just to host events or run programs, but to transform the culture of training around the continent and beyond. By the end of our 5-year mandate, which is by 2030, we are hoping, believing that African organizations will no longer tolerate training for training's sake. We want to see L&D, HR professionals, and CEOs tying training investments to business performance. We want to see line managers no longer as spectators in the training journey, but as co-drivers of behavior change. Most especially, we want to see the phrase training scrap becoming unacceptable by a lot of organizations, because every training initiative is planned, designed, and followed up in a way that guarantees results. That indeed is the Africa we are building, one organization at a time. Before the main conference in November 2025, we'll be holding high-level breakfast meetings. And what's the idea behind this breakfast meeting? Ittec 2025 is more than just a conference. It is a movement. And like every movement, it needs to be seeded intentionally. The breakfast meetings were designed intentionally as pre-conference touchpoints for senior leaders, especially the C-suite, to introduce the concept of training transfer effectiveness and why it must be a priority now. If the CEOs and executives do not champion this, the training transfer effectiveness, training will continually be treated as an isolated HR function, and we cannot afford that anymore. The first breakfast meeting is going to be held in Ghana, and we're expecting CEOs and senior executives to attend the breakfast meeting. The CEOs and senior executives have invested heavily in training and are yet to see the strategic returns or results as a result of their investment in training. Our goal is very simple: to introduce these CEOs and senior executives to TTE. TTE, by the way, is Training Transfer Effectiveness, and show them how training transfer effectiveness can transform their results even before the conference. The Ghana Breakfast meeting, we hope to plant a seed that will spread across the whole region. We want decision makers to walk away from the breakfast meeting saying to themselves, wow, so indeed we have been doing training the wrong way. And so now we have to start doing training the right way. And it is time for us to fix it. More than that, we also want them to see that indeed there's a way to what? Design, deliver, and follow through on training initiatives that will show a return on investment and return on expectations for that training investment. And if we get only 5 leaders to commit to this mindset shift, that indeed is 5 organizations in Ghana that have committed themselves to transformation. And that ripple effect is what this movement is all about. One organization at a time. On Friday, June 6, 2025, we'll be hosting the breakfast meeting here in Lagos, Nigeria. By the way, Lagos is my home base. Lagos is the base where many of the region's most influential business leaders operate. Lagos breakfast meeting will just be a continuation of the conversation we started up in Ghana and we brought to Lagos. It is time for the corporate sector in Lagos, Nigeria, not just in Lagos, everywhere, every part of Nigeria, to lead the charge in ending training scrap. The attendees should expect thought-provoking insights, practical models, also an invitation to partner with us on this Ittec 2025 conference. And not just partnering with us for the conference, also partnering with us for a lasting transformation for their organization, for their business. It is very important for the CEOs and C-suite executives to be present at this breakfast meeting, because training is a business investment, not just an HR activity. And any investment not delivering returns belongs to the CEO's radar. It is in the CEO's radar. When C-suite executives are able to define, explain, and articulate what training transfer effectiveness is, they start to view training differently. They start asking better questions, setting clearer expectations, and holding teams accountable for results, not just attendance, not just a tick in the box, not just a tick in the calendar. Their presence in the breakfast meeting sends a message to everyone in the organization that training is not just a checkbox. Rather, training has become a strategic tool for the business. And guess what? That mindset shift is very powerful. And where does it start? It starts with the top. If organizations in the African landscape start applying training transfer effectiveness seriously, wow, everything will change. When training transfer effectiveness starts becoming the standard and not the exception, we will stop seeing training as a cost. Rather, we'll start seeing training as an enabler of growth for the business and for the employees. Imagine what will happen if every of your training initiative starts resulting in real measurable behavioral change. We will stop complaining about low performance. We'll stop complaining about poor customer relationship. We'll stop complaining about underperforming teams, because training will be solving real business challenges. The HR and L&D, there'll be no need for you to keep convincing management, keep convincing the leaders to give you a seat at the table. Invariably, you would have a seat at the table. Why? Because the results are showing for themselves. That is the Africa M-Brand Consulting Limited sees, and that is what Ittec 2025 has come to bring. That's come to set up a spark. If someone is hearing about Ittec 2025 for the first time, I'll say to them, you're right on time. If you have ever felt frustrated that your training programs, your training initiatives are not delivering the results you expect them to deliver, if you have ever sat in management meetings trying to justify your training budget, if you know in your heart that indeed your people can grow, just as the system isn't allowing them to apply what they are learning to grow, then Ittec 2025 is for you. This is a space where we stop playing safe and start doing the work that transforms people, and by extension, transforms the business. I want Ittec 2025 to be remembered as a moment where the narrative of training changed. The moment we stopped accepting training that made people feel good with no impact. The moment we stopped treating training as an event. Rather, we start treating training as a value chain, as a strategic business tool. I want people to look back to the International Training Transfer Effectiveness Conference and say, which is what I call the 3 C's. That conference gave me clarity. It gave me conviction. It gave me courage to demand more from training and to deliver more through it. Because indeed, that is what Ittec 2025 is all about. It's not just talk, it is transformation. And that transformation starts right now. We are not just hosting another conference. We are shifting the entire culture around training in Africa. From seeing training as an event-based learning to seeing training as a performance-based result. Training transfer effectiveness is now a standard, not an exception. I look forward to seeing you all at the International Training Transfer Effectiveness Conference coming up November 13 and 14 at the Lagos Oriental Hotel, Victoria Island, Lagos, Nigeria. This conference, it's a hybrid conference. It's a conference whereby you can join physically and you can join virtually. Go to our conference page, www.itteconference.com. Do not be left out. We are on a movement. Join the movement now. See you there.